Welcome to the Other Life channel. Today we have a young man with us, a student who went from complete financial confusion to conscious money management. He studied at Harvard, and he's ready to share what they really teach there about financial literacy. Subscribe, hit the like button, and enjoy the watch.
Why do some of the absolute sharpest macroeconomic minds at Harvard, professors who literally build complex econometric models for breakfast, why do they tell their students that the secret to building wealth has, almost absolutely nothing to do with math?
It is a wild paradox, honestly.
Right. I mean, you'd think a personal finance workshop at one of the world's most elite universities would be all about, algorithmic trading or deep asset valuation.
Yeah, exactly, like some hyper-complex calculus.
But instead, they're basically just teaching behavioral psychology. And that is exactly what we are unpacking in today's deep dive. We've got a stack of source material straight from these collegiate financial literacy programs. And, well, we are going to look at the systemic behavioral choice architecture that actually keeps people from going broke.
It's such a fascinating pivot, too, because, the financial industry loves to sell us this idea that money management is purely a math problem.
Oh, 100%.
But human beings just don't operate like calculators. I mean, we operate on emotion, dopamine, cognitive load. And the brilliant part about the curriculum we're looking at today is that it completely ignores the complex calculus and focuses entirely on hacking human behavior.
Hacking behavior.
Right. It's really about building systems that protect you from your own impulses.
Which makes sense because, if it were just about math, nobody would ever carry a credit card balance.
Exactly. The numbers are obvious.
The numbers are staring right at you. But to see how this behavioral approach actually works...
Yes, Alex.
Yeah, Alex is a 19-year-old Harvard freshman. He's on a partial scholarship, comes from a middle-class background, and he's got this tight but, manageable monthly stipend.
Manageable if you're careful, right?
Right. Yet within his first month of independence, he just blows through almost all of it.
Yeah.
He ends up with exactly $40 left to survive for 3 weeks.
3 weeks on $40 is rough.
It is brutal. And the really interesting thing is, he didn't buy a Rolex.
No.
He didn't make a single disastrous, massive purchase. He just bled out in $6 increments.
Yeah, the classic death by 1,000 cuts.
Exactly. Daily food deliveries, coffees, little digital microtransactions.
And that is the absolute perfect illustration of what behavioral economists call frictionless commerce.
Frictionless commerce?
Yeah, the modern economy is explicitly designed to remove the psychological pain of paying. Think about it. When you hand over a $20 bill, your brain registers an actual loss.
Because it's tangible. You see the money leaving your hand.
Right. But when you just double tap a screen to order food, you barely even register the transaction. It feels like fake money.
It totally does.
So for someone like Alex, who is experiencing that sudden transition from relying on his parents to managing his own liquidity, it creates this massive illusion of abundance. He wasn't tracking the velocity of his spending because the system is literally designed to hide that velocity from him.
Which brings us to how he actually fixed it, right? So he walks into this personal finance workshop run by the economics department, led by these heavy hitters like Professor John Y. Campbell. And the foundational philosophy they hit these students with right out of the gate is, let me get the quote, "Money isn't what you earn, it's what you keep and put to work."
That is such a vital reframing.
It really is. Because we always define our financial identity by our salary, I make 80 grand a year.
Right, but salary is just throughput if you don't actually capture any of it.
Exactly. Just money passing through your hands.
And capturing it requires boundaries.
Yeah.
Which is where they introduced the 50-30-20 framework in the curriculum.
Yeah, and I think most people are probably at least loosely familiar with this concept.
Sure, yeah. 50% for non-negotiable needs, 30% for wants and lifestyle, and 20% strictly for saving and investing.
Right. But what is often misunderstood about 50-30-20 is, why it actually works.
Because it's not about restriction.
No, it's about cognitive offloading. I really want to dig into that, actually, because rigid budgeting, the kind where you track every single penny to a highly specific category, it feels like driving a manual transmission in stop-and-go traffic.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
You are constantly shifting gears. You're constantly making these micro decisions, and it's just exhausting.
Completely exhausted.
But 50-30-20 feels way more like an automatic transmission. You aren't agonizing over whether a $6 coffee is a good or bad choice. You just check if there is fuel left in the 30% wants tank.
And that cognitive offloading is the entire point. Because decision fatigue is a real biological phenomenon.
For sure.
Every single time you have to decide whether you can afford something, you deplete just a little bit of your willpower.
And we only have so much willpower in a day.
Exactly. So by grouping all discretionary spending into one 30% bucket, you give yourself permission to spend without guilt, as long as it stays in the bucket. I mean, you are acknowledging human nature, the desire for entertainment and comfort and, coffee, rather than trying to just suppress it entirely.
So Alex takes this framework, right? He downloads a basic tracking app, and he gets his diagnosis. And he realizes he was spending $400 a month just on food delivery.
Wow. $400.
Yeah, because the friction of actually walking down to the dining hall was just slightly higher than opening his phone, so he took the path of least resistance.
Well, sorry.
So he swaps to basic meal prep, uses a thermos for his coffee, and instantly saves $180 his very next month.
That's amazing.
It is. But here's the thing. A diagnosis is just a piece of paper. The tracking showed him the leak, but knowing the leak is there doesn't magically fix the pipes.
No, definitely not. Because relying on your own willpower to manually move that saved money into an investment account every single month, that is a recipe for failure.
Because life happens.
Right. If you have a stressful week at school or work, or you're just tired, your brain will rationalize spending that money instead. Like, I deserve this.
Oh, I've been there.
We all have. And this is where the curriculum introduces the concept of structural automation. The big directive they teach is pay yourself first.
Which honestly sounds like a cheesy motivational poster.
It does sound like a poster.
Yeah.
But it's actually a strict administrative command.
Yes. It's the thermostat analogy. I think about this all the time. Financial automation is basically like setting a digital thermostat in your house.
Right. You said it once.
You set it to 70 degrees once, and the system just hums in the background. It fires up the furnace when it needs to, keeps everything stable. Relying on manual savings is like having to manually throw a log on a fire every 2 hours.
And if you forget.
If you get distracted or if you fall asleep, the fire dies and the whole house freezes.
That's exactly it. The thermostat handles the baseline so you don't have to. And structurally, what that means is the very moment a paycheck hits your checking account, an automated routing rule immediately pulls that 20% into a separate high-yield savings account.
So you never even see it.
You never even see it in your available balance. You construct an environment where doing the right thing requires zero effort, and doing the wrong thing, like dipping into your savings, requires logging into a totally different portal, waiting 2 days for a transfer, and just navigating friction.
Okay, I do have to push back here on the math of this for a second,
Sure.
especially regarding the very first destination for that automated 20%, the emergency fund, because the sources say the immediate starting goal is, what, $500 to $1,000 in cash?
Yeah, 500 to 1,000.
But let's look at someone who is listening to this, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, carrying a credit card balance at, say, 25% APR. Mathematically, telling that person to park $500 in a savings account earning maybe 4%, that feels irresponsible.
I see where you're going.
Right. Because every spare penny should go to putting out that 25% interest fire, shouldn't it? Like, why do these Harvard professors advocate building the cash cushion first?
It's a completely fair challenge, and mathematically, you are absolutely right.
Thank you.
The interest on the debt completely outweighs the yield on the savings. But again, we have to remember, this is a behavioral problem, not a math problem.
Okay.
Think about it. If you throw every spare penny you have at your credit card debt, and you have zero cash reserves, what happens when you get a flat tire 2 weeks later?
Well, you put the tire on the credit card.
Exactly. You put it right back on the card. And psychologically, that is devastating.
Oh, I see.
You feel like you are right back to square one. You reinforce this internal identity of someone who is just perpetually in debt.
Like you're drowning and can't get out.
Right. But having that $500 cash cushion breaks the behavioral loop. When the flat tire happens, you just pay for it in cash. It becomes a mere inconvenience instead of a full-blown financial crisis.
Wow. Yeah, that changes the whole feeling of it.
It proves to your brain that you are actually capable of weathering a storm without relying on a lender. And that psychological momentum is far more valuable over a lifetime than the few dollars you would have saved in credit card interest at 1 month.
That makes total sense. You are basically insulating the system before you try to optimize it.
Precisely.
All right, so the automation stops the bleeding and the emergency fund stops the debt cycle. But cash just sitting in a bank is actively dying to inflation over the long term.
It is losing purchasing power, yeah.
So how do these courses teach students to transition from playing defense to playing offense?
The pivot to offense really revolves around the sequence of investments and navigating the specific behavioral hurdles of the stock market. Because once that cash cushion is built, the directive is to route the automation into broad market index funds, typically within tax-advantaged accounts.
Right. And I think most people who loosely follow finance understand the basic mechanics of an index fund like. You are buying a fractional slice of the entire economy rather than trying to pick individual winning stocks.
Yeah, you buy the haystack instead of looking for the needle.
By the haystack, exactly. But if the math of compounding is so universally proven and index funds are so accessible, why is the buy and hold strategy so incredibly difficult for humans to actually execute?
It comes down to action bias.
Action bias.
Yeah, human beings are evolutionarily wired to do something when we perceive a threat.
Fight or flight.
Exactly. So if you are holding an index fund and the market drops 10% in a week, your amygdala just fires up. The financial news is screaming about a recession. Everything is red. Your instinct is to act, to sell, to move to cash, to, stop the perceived bleeding.
Just do something to feel in control.
Right. But index investing demands the exact opposite of our biological wiring.
Yeah.
It demands profound, uncomfortable boredom.
Uncomfortable boredom. The urge to tinker really is the enemy of compounding, isn't it?
It really is. The reason Harvard professors push low-cost, broad-market index funds isn't just about fee optimization, though, that is important.
Sure.
It's about minimizing the behavioral triggers that cause people to panic sell. Think about it. If you own a single tech stock and they report bad earnings, you panic.
Yeah, your whole portfolio takes a hit.
But if you own the entire S&P 500, the individual noise is smoothed out. You are just betting on the long-term upward trajectory of human productivity.
But there is a massive cognitive dissonance that the sources highlight when it comes to investing, and it actually brings us back to credit cards for a second.
Oh, the mental accounting.
Yes, because you can have the best index fund portfolio in the world, but if you are carrying consumer debt, you are sabotaging the entire machine.
Yeah, mental accounting is wild. People will proudly look at their investment account earning, say, 8% a year, while simultaneously carrying a $5,000 balance on a credit card that's charging them 20%.
It's crazy.
They completely compartmentalize the two things, like, here is my wealth bucket and here is my debt bucket.
But your net worth doesn't compartmentalize.
No, it doesn't. A credit card is a fantastic tool, right?
Yeah.
It offers fraud protection, cashback, convenience. But it must be treated strictly as a routing mechanism for money you already possess, not as a short-term loan.
Right. So if we look back at Alex, he applies this systemic approach. He automates a small amount, he builds the safety net, he starts his first investments, and there's this great quote in the sources where he told his friends, "I didn't get rich overnight, I just stopped leaking money."
It's such a great realization.
It is. Now that is an awesome case study for a 19-year-old in a dorm. But I can totally hear a listener right now legitimately wondering, okay, how well does this behavioral choice architecture actually hold up against the sheer complexity of adulthood?
Oh, absolutely.
Because a 19-year-old doesn't have a mortgage.
No, and the sources actually anticipate that exact skepticism, which is why they pivot to highlight this 35-year-old mother of two who took a very similar online extension course.
Okay.
And her financial life is infinitely more complex than Alex's. She has a mortgage, childcare costs, wildly variable utility bills.
Real adult life.
Real adult life. But the underlying mechanics she applied, they were completely identical. She didn't overhaul her entire life on day one. She just established the baseline automation. She literally just set up a $50 transfer from every paycheck.
Just $50 to start. And her budget leaks, I'm guessing, were totally different from Alex's.
Very different.
For Alex, it was the daily latte and the Uber Eats. For this mother, the leaks were disguised as modern conveniences, right? Like forgotten software subscriptions, auto-renewing apps, streaming services she never even watched.
Exactly. These are the adult equivalent of the dorm room coffee. They're these silent, recurring drains on your bandwidth.
And that silent drain is so dangerous because it requires zero behavioral input from you to continue.
Right, they just auto-renew.
You have to actively intervene to stop it. What she found, and honestly what the research heavily supports, is that the biggest obstacle for adults isn't usually ignorance of the math. It is what they call mood spending.
Mood spending, yeah, that is a huge one.
We usually call it retail therapy, but it's really using money for emotional regulation, isn't it?
Precisely. It is resource allocation driven by temporary neurological states.
Right.
Like you have a terrible day at work, your stress hormones are elevated, and you buy something online just because the anticipation of the package delivers a quick hit of dopamine.
It makes you feel better for like 5 minutes.
Exactly. Or, on the flip side, you have a great day and you overspend to celebrate. The behavioral hack here isn't to punish yourself, though. It is just to introduce friction between the impulse and the purchase.
And this is where that cognitive shift of saying yes to your future self comes in. But how do we actually manage the emotional friction of that shift? Because checking your budget every single day to make sure you aren't mood spending, that just sounds like its own form of anxiety.
Oh, it absolutely is, which is why the source material explicitly advises against checking your budget daily.
Wait, really? Don't check it daily?
No. Constant monitoring just induces micro-stress and loss aversion. If you check your portfolio or your budget every single day, the natural volatility will exhaust you.
Oh, it's the bathroom scale analogy.
Yes.
If you are trying to get in shape and you step on the scale every single morning, the natural fluctuations in water weight will drive you insane.
You'll think the system is completely broken.
You'll think it isn't working and you'll just quit. But if you check the scale once a week or once a month, you are accurately tracking the macro trend without the daily emotional roller coaster.
Exactly. The monthly check-in is the absolute sweet spot. It allows you to adjust the system if needed without triggering that decision fatigue we talked about.
Makes so much sense.
And while we were talking about macro trends, there is one final critical investment strategy discussed in these courses that actually has nothing to do with index funds.
Oh!
Yeah,
Okay.
it is the concept of human capital.
Right, of course. Because frugality has a mathematical floor. You can only cut your expenses down to the baseline of human survival. Like, you cannot shrink your way to wealth.
No, you can't.
But your earning potential, that doesn't have a ceiling.
Exactly. When these economists look at lifetime wealth generation, the highest ROI investment you can make, especially in your 20s and 30s, is often just in your own skill set.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, paying for a certification, taking a course that allows you to pivot industries, or learning a high-leverage skill like, I don't know, coding or copywriting. Expanding your earning power mathematically outperforms extreme frugality over a multi-decade timeline.
Wow. So, distilling this entire Harvard masterclass down,
Yeah.
the playbook isn't about becoming a math genius at all. It is incredibly systemic. If we had to synthesize the immediate action steps for the listener right now, like the behavioral hacks they can implement today, what does that look like?
Okay, it looks like setting up the architecture.
Okay.
Step 1. Track your expenses for just 1 month. Don't judge the spending. Just observe it to find your personal leaks, whether that's food delivery or those ghost subscriptions.
Just get the diagnosis.
Exactly. Step 2. Set up the automation. Log into your payroll or your bank today, and route even just 5% of your income into a separate account before you ever even see it.
Build a thermostat.
Right. Step 3. Commit to the monthly check-in to avoid information fatigue.
Don't get on the scale every day.
Exactly. And step 4. Actively kill one silent lead today. Cancel one subscription you haven't used in a month.
Just one. That last one is instant cash flow right back into the system. You know, when you step back and look at the big picture here, financial literacy really isn't about the cash sitting in your checking account this afternoon.
No, it's not.
It is about how much autonomy and freedom you are buying for yourself 10, 20, or 40 years from now. I mean, think back to that feeling of leaking money, that stress of not knowing where the resources went. What would your life look like 10 years from now if you plug those leaks today and just let this system run in the background?
You literally transition from reacting to your financial environment to actually designing it.
And you completely have the power to design that environment starting right now. Start small, set the thermostat, and let time do the heavy lifting. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time.
Thank you for watching this story to the very end. You've been listening to a podcast on the channel Other Life. We talk about money, psychology, success, and the price that comes with great opportunities. If this story made you think, hit like, drop a comment, and share your opinion. Subscribe to Other Life so you don't miss the next podcast. Hit the bell icon and you'll always be the first to know about new stories. See you in the next episode.